Welcome back, every pony. When we last left off, Key Signature had approached Inverno about going outside of the palace. Now, Inverno did note that going outside could get him in trouble, but it honestly does seem worth the risk. Will their journey outside be a pleasant one, or one to regret? It looks like we're going to find out soon. Also, the next several chapters are titled in German, and so I do not butcher the language, I am going to read them in English. Inverno in F minor. Written by Cracked Inkwell. Chapter 24. Freedom, Spark of Divinity in EB major.
So, I'm pretending that I can't see?
Inverno asked, looking at his teacher through the dark sunglasses.
Isn't these glasses enough? I can hardly see what's in front of me anyway.
That's because it's still dusk.
Key replied.
Once the sun is up, you'll be able to see through, but at the same time you'll need to act as if you're blind.
But why?
The young unicorn asked, looking into his reflection on the crystal walls. He had on his dark sunglasses that covered his red serpent eyes. His long, messy mane was tied back into a knot. Over his back was a saddlebag that was large enough that it covered his cutie mark, and on his horn, it had bandages on it.
Because the more innocent and non-threatening you look, the less likely any pony will want to ask questions of you.
The professor explained, urging the colt to move along.
Are you sure this will work, though?
Inverno inquired.
I mean, how are we going to get past the guards?
Don't you worry.
The elder stallion said, adjusting his saddlebag.
Just leave it to me. Once we get close to those guards and outside, I need you to lean on me, because sometimes, when blind ponies who are led by another, they tend to lean on them for guiding them around. You got that?
I think so.
Soon they were at their exit, where a couple of crystal guards were there. Standing there with bloodshot eyes, they jolted their consciousness awake when they noticed them approaching.
Halt!
One of them called out as both of them crossed their spears.
Nobody is allowed to exit the palace at this time.
And neither is the colt.
The other guard added. It was here that the professor reached into his saddlebag and pulled out 2 bags and a lime green bottle.
How about a trade? If you two would just turn a blind eye for a moment, you two would, in return, will get 50 bits each.
We're not allowed to accept bribes.
They both said in unison.
Did I mention that I would throw this in?
He lifted up the bottle.
I found this while I was wandering around Sombra's old cellar. I think it has a funny sort of name. Disappearance de Cristobez.
This got their attention.
You know this?
The tears are crystal berries?
One guard answered.
The sweetest and smoothest wines to have ever been made? I never knew the tyrant still ever had that.
Well, it is the only one I could find with that name.
The professor said, starting to put the bits and the bottle back into his bag.
But I can see that you won't let us pass, so I'll...
Wait!
They both said.
While we can't accept any bits from you, I don't think there's anything in the rules against rare wines, do you?
I don't think so.
The other guard replied.
So, maybe just this once?
Splendid.
The professor grinned, giving the bottle over to the guards before adding.
And don't you worry about the fool. I swear on my life that I will look after him.
After taking the bottle, both guards lifted their spears.
Go now before any pony catches you.
Thank you.
Key said as he and Inverno walked outside. The two of them walked down a flight of stairs until they found themselves outside. They stepped out to a wide open space where at the center, suspended in midair between 2 pillars, was a spinning heart that looked as if it was made out of blue crystal.
What's that?
Inverno asked, approaching the item.
The crystal ponies call it the crystal heart.
The professor explained.
It's what holds the whole empire together. and what makes crystal ponies, well, crystal.
Inverno took a step closer to the spinning heart.
I think there's something inside of it.
What?
Look,
He pointed a hoof at it.
it looks like...
Inverno stared at the heart. The images inside seemed to have reflected back at him. At first, he couldn't make out what was inside, but as the heart slowed down, the picture became clearer. He noticed it wasn't just one image, but two. One showed him standing on a pile of rubble of broken crystal. His eyes and his horn were glowing brightly as the sun, giving a silent roar as he stomped on the pile to reveal parts of other ponies buried in the shattered crystal. On the other, he saw himself, but taller, older even, wearing some dark clothes, waving a white stick around. He was surrounded by musicians and instruments of every size, shape, and description. His older self turned around and bowed to the inky darkness as the dark threw flowers at his hoofs.
Inverno?
Key signature broke his concentration on the heart.
Looks like what?
The pale unicorn turned back to the spinning heart, finding that the images were gone.
Nothing.
He said, backing away from the spinning artifact.
Well, come along now. We've got a whole empire to explore.
The elder pony said. The sun now peaked above the mountains, bathing the tiny crystal kingdom in its warm rays. Inverno can now see up close the very buildings that he'd seen from afar. He saw the buildings that, although not as tall and magnificent as the palace, each was unique in color and shape. Ponies began to wake up from their slumber, and one by one they emerged from their homes. Shops opened up left and right. Soon the air was being perfumed with the smells of pastries from bakery ovens. Ponies prepped up food and goods from stands that, although tired, they all had a satisfied smile on their faces.
What are they doing?
Inverno asked, leaning over the professor's foreleg as he was told.
By the looks of things, they're opening up shops for the day.
What's a shop?
Well, a shop is when some pony sells or trades whatever they have made and exchange it for bits or money.
Why?
Why what?
He looked down at the colt in confusion.
Why do they trade bits for stuff?
A bit is a representation of something that's valuable. For example, if you want to buy a cherry, you would trade 1 bit for 1 cherry, you see? But if you want something like, say...
The elder stallion looked around the opening market to fit into his example. He spotted a booth where an alabaster mare was setting up jewelry.
If you want to buy a necklace with real gems in it, you'll have to trade more gems to... No. If you want to buy a necklace with real gems in it, you have to trade them more bits to earn it.
Well, that's just weird.
Inverno commented.
Couldn't you just trade a necklace for...
The little unicorn jumped when he felt himself stepping into something odd. Key Signature looked down and quickly found out what made him jump. Not paying attention, he realized that they were stepping into a park area where there was grass growing. He saw Inverno quickly step back onto the smooth crystal road.
What was that?
The colt asked in alarm.
It's grass. Grass is a thin little plant that you walk on.
The professor said, stepping onto it.
Walk on?
Inverno questioned.
I don't want to walk on that again.
Why not?
It just feels weird. It's like stepping on string that's made of something odd.
Just step on the grass.
Professor Key said.
It actually feels nice. Come on, just try it.
Although reluctant, the colt was able to put a hoof over the plant known as grass. He moved his hoof around as if he were feeling a stringy fabric.
Not only that, but it's edible too. Although I wouldn't recommend it because it's a little too bland for my taste.
Curious as to the professor's meaning, The disguised unicorn bent his neck down to take a bite out of the grass, only to quickly spit it out.
You're right. It really does need dressing.
Inverno?
Shining knocked on the colt's door.
Hey, you up? Breakfast is ready.
No answer.
I'm coming in, okay?
The prince said, opening the door. He expected to see the young unicorn to be still in his bed, only to find both empty and already made.
Kid!
He asked out loud.
Hello? You in here?
He checked the bathroom, only to find it empty as well.
Come on! Breakfast is going to get cold! Where are ya?
He searched under the bed, in the closet, even behind the shower curtain, only to find no trace of the colt.
Where is he?
Shining asked himself, exiting the room. And that concludes chapter 24 to Inverno in F minor, written by Cracked Inkwell. Well, all's well is going well so far. I must say, I'm not entirely against key signature bribing the guards with some very top-class alcohol in order to get out of the castle unseen. And I'm also a bit curious about what Inverno saw for himself reflected in the crystal heart. But aside from that, his curiosity is quite adorable and I just can't stand it. I mean, yes, it is to be expected as he has never been outside of the palace since he was found and even before that. But there's just something so cute about a child's curiosity in this case. And I don't know for sure right now if this could be taken as a sense of trouble to come, but as it has now been discovered that Inverno is not in his room, I wonder what Channing and Cadence will do about it at this point. But for right now, we will have to wait and see. I do hope you enjoy this, every pony. There's still more to come.